Hello, everybody. When we think about the state of the C-store industry, this is an industry in a fantastic amount of change. COVID-19, outdoor EMV, liability shift that's coming in April 2021, these tend to dominate the discussion and dialogue. But did you know that there are five other market trends that are equally, if not even more significant than these? My name is Tang, and my role at Hughes is to basically study market trends in industries to try to get an understanding of where the industry is headed and how can we operationalize this knowledge. How can we take advantage of the trend and what we expect to happen and prepare for it in order to maximize the business opportunity that all these different dynamics and changes bring about. And so what I'd like to do today is to share with you 5 trends outside of COVID-19 and outdoor UV that I think are equally and also important to consider. So let's get started. I think let's start with the context of the C-store operator. There is an outstanding amount of stuff when we think about what's on a business individual's desire to simply just sell cokes, smokes, and gas. They have to think about tank monitoring, POS, labor, credit card fees. There's an outstanding amount of factors that they have to continuously juggle. And as we start thinking through this, the question that comes up is, where can we put our finger to maximize the business? What things do we have that are within our control that we can change, that we can improve, where we can make a meaningful improvement to the business today and then set ourselves up for the future? One of the first places to start is with food. Food is growing in terms of its dominant role in the business of the C-store industry. This is not only growing in revenue, but certainly is dominating in terms of profitability, outpacing gas and tobacco in terms of the profitability factor. Now, one of the challenges with food, very much like the QSR industry, is particularly in light of the challenges over the past year in the pandemic, is many C-store operators are gravitating toward third-party delivery. Makes a lot of sense, right? You have a high-quality product and you want to get it to as many people as possible. I think here, when we think about third-party delivery in the C-store industries, my advice and my encouragement is to carefully look at what's happened with the restaurant industry over the past many years. I have the opportunity to study the restaurant industry too as well. And I will tell you that third-party delivery is always top of mind and has dominated the dialogue in so many of the industry conferences over the past several years, primarily because the business model doesn't make sense. 30% of the ticket is going to a third-party entity, and it's such a significant part of the share of wallet. Yes, third-party delivery is an exciting idea, right? The opportunity to engage with new customers on a platform that you may not ordinarily reach, but it comes at a very, very heavy cost. It's not only the 30% portion of the ticket that's going to a third-party entity, it's loss of the customer experience, control of the customer experience, and loss of the customer data too as well. Because at the end of the day, a third-party delivery customer is a customer of the third-party entity, not of the C-store, not of the restaurant. And so as the C-store industry starts to embrace third-party delivery, and it has already embraced third-party delivery, my guidance is to go in with your eyes wide open and prepare for the transition. This is not a long-term relationship. The business model is not sufficient. Giving 30% over to a third-party entity, they're struggling still to make money. So there is no real expectation that 30% will come down anytime soon. And so the challenge is if they can't reduce their fees and the C-store industries has to struggle with these costs, the only other place it can go is to push that burden onto the customer. And there's only so much that a customer can take. And so the guidance here is to realize that this is a short-term proposition. Maximize it, grab as many customers as you possibly can, but also have a tangible and concrete plan for converting those third-party customers into direct customers. You don't want to be dependent on third-party to grow your business in the long term, not the way the current models are designed. So that's for food. The next area that I go to is tobacco. Tobacco is still very significant, and while tobacco usage in America has continued to decline over the past years, decades, there is one bright spot in terms of vaping. That has kind of exploded and blossomed. The dark side of this bright spot in the tobacco industry, though, is that there has been an enormous increase in the use of vaping products, illegal use of vaping products by underage minors. And the big challenge is the statistics are quite shocking. While they have improved, we're still looking at 20% of high schoolers who are vaping, 5% of middle schoolers who are vaping. The FDA has deemed this as an epidemic, and they are aggressively trying to basically eliminate this. Their method and their mentality at this point is to get the vaping products out of retail. Their belief is that if retailers stop selling them, they won't get into the hands of the kids, despite all the evidence that points to that most of these kids are getting their vaping products from the internet or from people who buy from the internet. So with the state of the industry today, it's vitally important for C-store operators to train their employees, not just one time when they're onboarded, but to continually train and continually emphasize the need to verify customers to go through the age verification process, not only for alcohol, but especially for vaping products, because the FDA is deliberately out there trying to understand and issuing NTSOs against retailers who fail. And so it becomes vitally important to have your employees up to speed and follow the process, and to remind them continuously to continue to follow the process. This has become such a big deal that NACS and Connexus have $1 million program right now to standardize APIs, to throw technology at the problems. The idea is to enable point of sales to actually use APIs to facilitate and accelerate the age verification process. And so as you think about your point of sale solution today, you want to take a careful look at that and make sure that you're able to basically take advantage of these new APIs that are going to be available, because you're going to want every advantage to facilitate that transaction in as efficient and as a high quality customer experience as possible. The next trend to think about is what's happening with fuel. There's no denying that customer behavior and usage of fuel is changing and evolving. The need America's need for fuel is on the decline because of vehicles that are far more efficient, and also the growth of electric vehicles. So if this decline is unfolding in front of us, how does a retailer basically maximize the business opportunity in this context? I would suggest to you, it's that 30% number that is the target to consider. 30%, so many retailers today, C-store operators today, are struggling with only about 35% of their fuel patrons actually go into the retail store. And so the opportunity to think about is, how do you improve, how do you drive more of your fuel patrons and convert them to becoming retail patrons? If the number of fuel patrons is on the decline, then the way to grow the business is to increase the conversion of those fuel patrons into retail patrons. What are some of the things that we would look at? We would look at the customer and employee experience in the store. You know, the challenges. What are the things that employees are going to be and customers are going to be complaining about? Long checkout lines, slow transactions. You know, again, with a customer base that is on the decline, every opportunity to engage with a customer becomes a critical opportunity to grow your business, to create a fantastic, outstanding experience so that you can get that repeat visit the next time around. Inefficient store operations, ineffective loyalty programs, unhappy customers. These are all areas that are worthy of another review, another attention. And the idea here is to say that fuel transactions and customers' need for fuels are changing. COVID-19 has changed customers' behavior, eliminated the need to drive to work every day now. And so as this unfolds on us, the next thing that we need to think about then is, how do we grow the business? How do we continue to drive the conversion of fuel patrons into retail patrons? That's on the customer-facing side. There's another challenge of trying to think about on the back office side. And that's as we're talking about cybersecurity for the store. There have been in the C-store industry a number of very public breaches. And when these breaches hit the store, hit the headlines, it affects everybody in the brand and in the industry too as well. The C-store industry is a prime target, a prime area of focus, in part because so many are independent operators with so little resources. When you think about it, there's a perfect storm that's kind of brewing here, right? The technology requirements to run the stores are increasing in complexity. There are more and more tools that are becoming more and more automated for the security surveillance videos, the Internet of Things sensors that are being deployed. And each one of these things increases and expands the potential threat surface to give a bad actor an opportunity to engage with a C-store. The other part of the problem here is there's fewer cybersecurity personnel that are available to hire. It's difficult to get the talent to find people who can defend your store infrastructure. And then on top of this, there's the meat and potatoes of the compliance, the failures to basically address the very simple PCI compliance issues too as well. So when we think about cybersecurity, you've got increasing complexity, you've got fewer resources that are available to you, and then you've got the standard challenges today with meat and potatoes kind of PCI compliance. And so this is another area where we know something's going to happen. You have a 30% chance of getting breached. So it's not an if, it's a when. And so the time to prepare is now, before a ransomware comes into your store, to defend and equip your employees, properly train them and prepare them to not click on those phishing email attacks, to not invite the bad actors into it, but to also elevate the security posture for your stores. As we think about the digital foundation that's taking place, the C-store industry is becoming very dependent. The whole store experience, customer and employee experience is becoming very dependent on the digital infrastructure in the store. And so from cybersecurity, we think about just even the network itself. For decades, it's been well understood that you can do an offline credit card transactions. But in today's world, that's not good enough. There's no such thing as an offline mobile order. There's no such thing as offline loyalty redemptions. In the age that we're in today, the network becomes a critical element. And we're not just talking about, hey, when the network tends to go out, I've got a problem and I need to switch to an offline mode. It's congestion issues too as well. It's stores that have inadequate capacity. And so the challenge here is to say that if you don't have an adequate store infrastructure from an internet perspective, this too needs to get fixed. The store needs, perhaps new technologies, managed SD-WAN solutions can be brought to bear to not only improve the security of the store and the cybersecurity posture of the store, but also dramatically improve the application performances and the customer and the store experiences. So when we think about what's happening today, from a food perspective, it's in integration with the third-party deliveries. We have tobacco with the vaping and the need for age verification and the technology implications when these age verification APIs are available on the point of sale systems. You have fuel, the declining use of fuel, and then driving the need for improving the retail conversion rates of converting fuel patrons into retail patrons. Think about the cybersecurity risks that are waiting now. They're not waiting until April of 2021. They are here today. And ransomware attacks can shut your store down tomorrow. And then we think about the digital foundation and its impact on how to support the customer experience. These are non-trivial elements and aspects. And from a Hughes perspective, as a service provider, what we're trying to do is to make technology easier. We're trying to support and not only kind of highlight these challenges that are facing the industries, but to also actively kind of support and provide. So we have a whole portfolio of managed services that are designed to kind of participate and address some of these trends. Employee training solutions to kind of encourage employees to do the age verifications. Whole portfolio of digital menu solutions to kind of drive and encourage customers to come into the store. Guest Wi-Fi solutions to kind of facilitate the mobile engagement, not only in the store, but in the forecourt. And to try to pull, in an effort to pull the customer into the store. And most importantly of all, the managed SD-WAN infrastructures. To basically, you don't always control what kind of internet access is available at a store. You always control how you can use it. And there are many things with today's technology that we can do to apply and improve the performance of the internet infrastructure in the store. I'd like to highlight for you a resource that we have, hughes.com/retail-petroleum. This is an information resource, an opportunity to kind of learn more about what's available, what's happening in the industry, and how to prepare for it. There's a lot of documents there, ebooks to talk about the upcoming outdoor EMV liability shift, and other things to just simply explain what is the MNSP program about, and what are these, what should an operator think about as it relates to cybersecurity. My hope is that today is just the beginning of a conversation. And I've included my contact information on this last slide, and I invite you to reach out to me. I would be more than happy to maybe expand on some of these topics, answer any questions that you may have. I do encourage you to link in with me. I put a lot of the thoughts about these in the form of thought leadership articles on LinkedIn and social media too as well. And I also have a personal webpage on business.hughes.com that has a wide range of everything from executive interviews as well as other thought leadership assets that may be helpful to you as well. Thank you very much for participating, and I look forward to future opportunities to engage.